Hello and welcome to Square Raindrop. I'm Jo Wheeler.
And I'm Steff.
And what a lot of chilly things we've got for you today.
June has just been disappointing, Jo. What's gone on there?
It's still flaming June. It's just the nuance in which you say it. In other words, it's flaming June, not flaming June.
Well, it's certainly not Scorchio. I'll tell you that much for nothing.
No, it absolutely isn't, is it? So what's gone wrong? Because we started with these headlines, admittedly in the press. 50 days of rain, they said, this summer. Then they said, heat wave in the middle of June. And instead, what we've got is a bit of an Arctic flow. I think even parts of Scotland have had 5 days of snow.
Yes, at least 5. And I believe that the maximum they've had in June are 9 days in total. So 5 is pretty extraordinary. Yeah, you wouldn't expect that every year at all in June. It's so disappointing. And even down here, like I'm in the south. Like, come on, we're not used to this cold weather. We're rubbish. And yet outside, it's freezing. People have been messaging in saying, my husband's been out with his bubble hat on playing golf. I mean, it's crazy. This is supposed to be summer. We only have 3 months of it. Is this the best we can do?
I know. It's not looking good, is it? Not just over the next few days, but I know you don't like the long-term forecast, but even when you do gaze into that crystal ball, it's not exactly giving good news.
No, there's another blast here now. So this is kind of like the intenser version, if you will. And then, well, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Jo, let's just say it does.
Now, this brings us to another point, because when we've got so little summer, you want to grab whatever hour of sunshine or dry weather that you get in the day. And then it comes down to things like phone apps. Now, lots of people look at their phones to look at the weather. And of course, it's usually represented by just one icon, which doesn't necessarily give you the detail that you need.
Well, it is really difficult because if you're going to represent the entire day's weather in one icon, how would you do it? There are so many different options. Would you go midday? This is what you got at midday, so that's the bit you'll remember. Do you think the predominant type of weather for the day, so you go, well, mostly it's going to be cloudy, but then you forget that there's torrential rain first thing in the morning? Or do you go with the worst type of weather? Do you go with the torrential rain, which only lasted for 5 minutes and the rest of the day was fine? What do you do?
It is very difficult. Now, you see, I should just drop in here that I'm going to escape these cold climes and go to Greece next week.
La 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 la, I can't hear you.
And on that occasion, I think that one little sunshine symbol kind of summed it up okay.
Yeah, they only need the one symbol, don't they?
I will keep reminding you about it. But
yeah, my phone's
also,
going to go on the blink, I think you'll find, and we'll just refuse all calls from you in the next few weeks.
Now, the other thing about phone apps, because certainly my children are fairly sure that whichever phone app they have is the right one. But it should be pointed out that different phone apps use different data.
Yes, they use different models. Some of the models have one square of data, which is the same. So that it might be, 19 kilometers squared, and all the weather in that 19 kilometers is the same. Or it may be that it's much bigger, or it may be that it's much smaller. I mean, obviously, the smaller the better, because there are mountains and there are, coasts and things that change the weather. But if you have one that covers this huge area and it all comes under the same icon stamp, then it can't be as accurate. But people don't know that, and it's not immediately obvious.
Do you know, even when you do a weather forecast of, I don't know, anything between 1.5, 2.5, 3 minutes, something like that, people always say, oh, well, we live in a little microclimate and the weather's different here. Or you didn't quite cover that bit. We had a few showers in North Wales when you said it was going to be dry and sunny for much of the country. And the simple answer is, Britain being what it is, with such vast differences in both weather and temperature, not just north to south, but east to west, it is nigh on impossible to give anything more than a bit of a trend, really.
That's right. And other places have even more severe microclimates. So I used to live in the Middle East for years, and there on the south coast in Oman is a place called Salalah, which, while the rest of the Arabian Peninsula is absolutely boiling in the summer, there's some really cold sea that wells up just off the coast. And so that gives you a load of cold air just over this one little village, really. It's like a small city, large village. And there as well as being cold, it's also really foggy the whole time. So people go there because it's so different and it's not boiling hot. But you just get loads of people like sitting there having a picnic in the fog. It's the most bizarre place.
You can do that in England quite often. Did I mention I'm going to Greece next week? Because I think it's going to be quite warm there.
La 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 la. So moving on. How are your teeth? Are you going to explain to everyone about
That is harsh.
carrots?
Yes, you with the carrots. You with the carrots. Right.
You
so,
talk
yes,
about Greece. I'm going to mention the carrots.
So the story behind this, yeah, never in my life, I share something. I do not think in my entire life I've been to a beautician. I'm even loath to go to the hairdresser, which is probably quite clear. And pretty much, this far through my TV career, I thought I'll have some cosmetic dentistry done because one of my front teeth was cracked. So I did that. It's not worked quite as well as it might have done. Not least of all because one of them is slightly twisted, which has given me a bit of a lisp. And secondly, they're not quite the right colour or size. In fact, if they were a pair of shoes, yes, you wouldn't have given your credit card over. Yes, but unfortunately, it's a bit of a permanent thing. So they are going to be changed. But right now, I do feel a little bit like Bugs Bunny. Let's put it this way. On my holiday to Greece, yeah, I have booked excess baggage.
For your teeth?
Yes. Because I'm going to have to take them with me. Yes, and they'll be changed when I come back.
Oh man, are you going to be one of those people that wears like the COVID masks at all times?
Well, if I were, I'd be doing it now. Do you know something? Whilst I was a little bit devastated to begin with, particularly about the lisp, I hadn't seen that bit coming. I've kind of learned to laugh about it now. And now that we've organised to get it changed, I'm chill. I'm chill. Yeah, maybe need to learn a bit more about the procedure and take more notice next time.
I think also you need to remember that it always looks worse for yourself. Like for anybody watching this, it looks absolutely fine. But because you look at your teeth a little bit more closely than others might, also some small, tiny change in your mouth feels like a ginormous rock. So
it does indeed. I had a friend when I was in primary school and she had the most wonderful buck teeth. So buck teeth, they used to rest on her bottom lip. And I was jealous as, can't tell you. And so I used to sit there going, like this, see, pretending I got butt teeth too. Well, all I can say is be careful what you wish for, because one day it might happen.
And also, Joe, because I was so mean and not laughing, enjoying your humor with your teeth. I really didn't. Anyway, moving on. It's karma has come back to get me. There is a terrible diarrhea and vomiting illness, lurgy, in my kids' school. So bad that of the 55 kids in my daughter's year, who's 7, there's less than a whole class in there today. It's even got one of the teachers.
Oh no.
I mean, it's terrible. No. All the parents are messaging each other on these groups going, so-and-so's down, so-and-so's down, so-and-so. And I phoned up 111 to say, she can't even keep a spoon of water down. Like she's bringing it back up instantly.
Let's be honest, you didn't call 111 first, did you?
I did call 111, but when I wrote it down to tell other people that I'd called 111, because I was so tired after being up all night with this child that's like The Exorcist, I told everybody I'd phone 911. So I don't know, maybe my brain thought I was in the States or something. I've never lived in the States, but maybe my brain thought I had.
Well, that's what you said to me, and I thought you were phoning the police to report the theft of a good night's sleep or the theft of peace of mind. And dash it all, do I really have to stay up all night with this kid?
The theft of my sanity. It is worth a 999 call. It's not quite worth flying over to the States and then making that call, though.
No. And how long did you have to wait on the end of the line for 111 to pick up?
Actually, it wasn't so bad. So, yeah, I don't think it was a crazy long time. I was expecting it to be crazy long, and I put the phone by me as I'm sort of making dinner and things, obviously not for the sickly child. But then, yeah, I had to just burn the dinner because they picked up.
I've never been so glad to be remote from you, Steffi, because the last thing I want is a sicky bug. I cannot think of anything worse. And the one golden lesson I learned when my kids were small, and that was when they go to bed, if they're feeling a bit icky, put a towel down, because if they upchuck, you can whip the towel out, whip another one in, they barely wake up, you don't have to strip the entire bed, works for everybody.
Brilliant. Really good tips there. Parenting tips from Jo. She's only had 50 children, so she knows it all.
Well, do you know something? My daughter, who now has a child of her own, is doing everything properly. And when I look back to the way that I did mothering, I'm thinking, I made some mistakes there.
They all
It's all
made
right.
it. It's all good.
They survived. They've done well. It's made them quite resilient. Now, do you notice that right at the moment we're talking about anything but the weather? You did say that this week it's likely to get worse. Obviously, I haven't looked far enough ahead. What are you talking about?
Well, when I looked at the weather a couple of days ago, it was all quite benign, a bit dull into the future, nothing really to hang your hat on. Sort of the idea was mid-June there would be a high pressure in charge, not necessarily a warm one, but a high pressure, so less in the way of rain. And then towards the end of the month, it was could go either way. And that could go either way weather then continued through July and August. Now we're kind of nearing the middle of June and we can see the whites of its eyes. It's not looking quite so high pressure. It's looking a little bit more unsettled. Then there's a little ridge of high pressure and then lots of rain coming. Thursday is looking soggy as.
Well, the Met Office did say a higher than average chance of it being wetter than average. No, they didn't. They said a good chance of it being wetter than average. That's what they did say.
They said average for rainfall. Second best guess was higher than average rainfall. Definitely, or not definitely, less likely drier than average for the summer as a whole.
That's very specific. Has to be said, a lot of the elements that we look at in terms of long-term forecasts, and they have lots of names, which are basically just letters that you have to kind of fill in the words for. But those tend to be positive drivers in weather patterns. And they've all been a bit kind of lackadaisical, haven't they? A bit kind of like lost our mojo, don't care. And so it has been very difficult to see what weather drivers we do have, which has left us really just at the mercy of whether it's low pressure or high pressure that wins out. And as they say, it's a game of two halves, could go either way.
But I think this is where we were last year, though, Jo. I think June was great when the kids were at school, obviously. And then as soon as the schools broke up, cloud, rain, and every single week we were going, maybe next week will be better. Maybe next week will be better. And then in September, we realised summer had finished and it hadn't.
No. And a bit of a spoiler alert, because you've got a personalised forecast coming up, which isn't going to have the best outcome.
No. Oh dear. Less said about that, the better.
Yes, but my personal forecast for Greece next week is that it's going to be really quite warm.
La, 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 la. This won't get tiring, will it, Jo?
No, but I shall have lots to talk about when I get back, because I'm not just going to go and lie in the sun. I mean, who does that? Yeah, no, this is a spot of kayaking, a spot of foraging, a bit of Greek cookery. I think there might be a few cocktails involved and possibly a wine bar as well.
Jo, I love you, but I can see you cocktailing. Can I see you foraging on the floor of a wood? I'm not so sure. In 38 degrees of heat or whatever it might be in Greece at the moment.
Oh, is it warm? Is it sunny? Oh, I'm so looking forward to a bit of
Sorry, cross line. Gotta go. Going under a bridge.
Well, I shall take plentiful photographs. Yeah, we'll do. How about we do a special Square Raindrop podcast on Jo's trip to sunny Greece?
Lovely. I might miss that one.
I'll be on my own for that. In the meantime, if you want to contact us with weather questions, it is.
You can email us at weather@squareraindrop.com. You can get in touch on X. We are at Raindrop because Square Raindrop didn't fit. And you can find us on Facebook. We are facebook.com/squaraindrop.
And we're all over Twitter pretty much every day with the update to the forecasts. But if you want a personal forecast, do contact us. They're not all bad news. I think it's just this week's one.
Yeah, the others have actually been quite good. But don't tell Jonathan, he might be disappointed.